You know, if we can get back to the tax code thing, I find that a lot of Democrats say they want to work with Republicans. A number of Republicans say that, all right, we'll throw an olive branch to you. And the latest to do so, sir, was Chris Collins, the moderate Republican of the state of New York. I want you to react to this. This was in a conversation on our air about how to proceed in a bipartisan way on tax cuts.
There is the potential of getting some Democrats to come on board. It might not be as massive a cut as some of us would like, but if we can get those corporate rates down, that money will be reinvested in jobs and the economy. Right. We could have, and America would actually applaud, something called a bipartisan tax reform. They would actually think, oh, my God, Congress in D.C., they're finally doing their job.
You know what I read into that? It might not be as massive a tax cut. In other words, to bring Democrats on board, assuming that's what you need, you can't have this big tax cut. Do you agree with that?
I think what you're hearing from the administration, we're all on the same page. I've talked to Director Cohn this morning. I've talked to Secretary Mnuchin about this. We've had regular conversations with the President. We want the biggest tax cut. We want the most sweeping tax reform that can actually pass. I happen to personally think, as I stand here, I disagree with my colleague, my former colleague, say I think we get a better tax package out of a Republican plan, but if there's an argument to be made for a bigger, bolder, better tax reform plan, tax cut plan coming out of a bipartisan deal, that's certainly something we consider.
It doesn't sound like it would be bigger and bolder, though. Anything bipartisan would water it down, right?
And I think, and that's my gut reaction. I'm trying to be gracious to my former colleague, but I think as soon as you invite 10, 12, 15 Democrats to the table, you're going to see it simply get watered down, and we can't have it. We have to get back to a healthy American economy. You have to get back to 3% growth. That's what Maganomics is all about, and just, you know, fiddling around on the edges of the tax code isn't going to get us there. So I think we press on with a Republican bill while all the time listening to Democrats if they have ideas on how to go bigger or go better.
Do you think the rich should get a tax cut?
I think we should do whatever it takes to get 3% growth. Part of that means I have to have productivity go up. The two primary factors in economic growth, GDP growth, would be population growth plus productivity. When we nail down on productivity, we look at things like private investment, capital investment, investing in capital, and anything that we can do in the tax code at the corporate level, at the pass-through level, at the top levels, even at middle-class America levels, whatever encourages more investment in capital, drives up productivity, and that's what will drive our GDP growth. So, again, what is Maganomics all about? Looking at everything through the prism of how do we get to 3% growth, and that's how we'll look at any tax reform proposals.
Well, that area of growth is concentrated among the very wealthy. They would get you the bang for that buck, right?
I need productivity growth. I need everybody to be more productive. We need folks to come back to work. That's why welfare is part of Maganomics. Welfare reform is getting rid, as I said before, about Obamacare and getting rid of that.
But you still want across-the-board tax cuts?
I want as much as we can possibly get out of the House and the Senate. So I think the proposal that we've put forward is still on the table about the 15% corporate cuts or corporate rates.
You mentioned the 15%, by the way. And others that I hear on the Hill are their starting point seems to be 20, even 25%. I believe Warren Hatch had mentioned even 25%. Is there a point at which you say, no, our minimum is this?
No, I think it's a negotiation. I'm happy to, if I'm starting at 15 and they're starting at 20, I'm pretty sure what 17.5 sounds like a pretty good number. So it's just part of the negotiation.
But let me ask you a little bit. I mean, with your recent budget and the ideas that you had, that Nancy Pelosi has come down on you pretty hard and fast. You know what it does, referring to the Republican budget? It requires more military might. It takes us down the wrong path. She goes on to say this was supposed to be a budget that prevents the spread of violence. Instead, they have a budget that stirs it up. Your reaction?
How do I react to Mrs. Pelosi? There's a never-ending list of things I could say. The bottom line is, what do you expect? It's been a long time since the minority leader in the House had anything constructive to say about the process, and while I respect her position, I don't look to her for advice on my budget.
All right, but whether it's the House budget she was railing against or your own budget that she said was a non-starter, and now the Democratic leaders up talking their own plans to revive the economy, they say it shouldn't be done helping the rich. You say what?
I say that is a speech that she probably wrote 57 years ago when she got to Congress, and she's used it every single year that a Republican administration has trotted out a budget. Every single year that the Republicans in the House trot out a budget, it's old talking points. It's not constructive. There's some really good ideas in there that I think the Democrats could focus on as a place for us to get together. For example, the commitment we make on apprenticeship training, some of the commitments we make on expanding school choice. Why aren't we talking about the things in the budget that the Democrats might be able to support instead of having them pull out the same speeches they've used since I've been in Washington for 7 years now?
All right, I'll put you down as a maybe on Nancy Pelosi. Now, finally, sir, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention these latest rumors going back and forth that the president is throwing out Rudy Giuliani's name as a possible attorney general. I only mention that in the scheme of the criticism he dumped on his attorney general, the way he handled the Russia recusal thing. But I wonder, as a loyal confidant and now his OMB director and other cabinet members feel that the president might not have your back.
I couldn't disagree with that more fervently. I unveiled a fairly aggressive budget, Neil, a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago. You saw it. You saw the heat that I took on the Hill for it, even from some of my members of my own party, and the president had my back 100% of the time. So I judge people by what they do, not what other people say about them. And this president's always had my back, and I have no reason to believe it would ever be any different.
But people aren't freaking out there.
We don't freak out at OMB. We're the Office of Management and Budget, not the Office of Freaking Out. We work. We work for our paychecks. We work for living over here, and we don't get caught up in a lot of the things that the media wants us to talk about.
Director Mulvaney, very good talking to you.